All right, everyone. Welcome into another episode of Debate Night. We have some fresh faces today. Going to be a really exciting episode, and also no Hunter. So, also going to make this another interesting thing to watch for. Today, we're going to be talking about a bunch of different things, everything from the Las Vegas Challenge to FPO coverage. We're gonna brush on selling tickets for practice rounds. And we're also going to talk about social media versus player performance, and then don't forget about that rapid round either. Let's go ahead and introduce our analysts today because we do have some new people today. We're joined as always by Brodie. Then we also have Taylor Albuchon, a returning competitor. We have Tyler Jordan today, new to the show. And then we are rounded out by Matthew Marsh, another new analyst for the show. So new competition today, some new topics. We're going to jump right in, starting with the Las Vegas Challenge. And this is the first event of the season. It's coming up on us after the All-Star event, and it's notable this year because it's been an event that has been characterized in previous years by having 3 different courses for just one field at a time, something that some players have spoken out against. It can be a little bit chaotic. Why is that necessary? But they're switching to 2 courses format for both MPO and FPO this year instead of 3. So my question is, was this a good decision, and how many courses should tour events be allowed to feature? Brodie, what do you think?
Yeah, so I think this is a great idea. I think this is also something the Disc Golf Pro Tour has been working with Innova at the Las Vegas Challenge on for the last several years. The course, I think, the tournament, it being at the beginning of the season, I think gets a lot of hype, but I think it also, people look down on it because we are playing 3 separate courses. Innova is a really good course. The course that we play Tuesdays and Thursdays, the final day, they do have a lot of holes that you can remember and be like, I can't wait to see how players attack it. The other 2 courses, they're not as memorable. There are holes that look very similar, and having another whole 36 holes that aren't necessarily designed the best. I think condensing those down to a better 18 is going to lead to a better tournament overall. I think that's important for the fans. I think also from player standpoint, going out there and trying to practice for 54 holes is a little bit harder logistically. And on the logistics side too, from the Disc Golf Pro Tour, you're now only having to concern yourself with 36 holes instead of 54. So I think it's a great move for the Disc Golf Pro Tour. I think it's a great move for the fans and the players, and I'm looking forward to it because I went out there a little early, and it does look like they have made some changes, and I think it's going to be all good.
Yeah, certainly going to be interesting to see how they condense that. Tyler, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, well, I agree with Brodie, and what he said kind of confirms what I thought. Not being a tour and pro myself, but when I watch, I feel like it's hard for a fan who's not been there to keep up with 3 different courses. And so for me, having just 2 courses that are a little higher quality, I think is going to be a great thing. It's a great venue. I actually got to go to Vegas last year on vacation and play this course, and I was overwhelmed by all the different holes there were. But the Innova course is super good. So like Brodie said, I'm excited to see what they do with the rest of the holes. Look, the expectations for these courses is going to continue to grow. We have more guys expressing interest in developing their own courses, following the footsteps of Kayla Viska and of Paul. And again, as the sport grows, these elite level courses, they're tweaking, they're improving things. So again, as the expectation rises, I'm glad to see Vegas kind of saying, hey, we have a lot of space to work with. Let's make 2 really great courses for a 4-day event. So I applaud them for going this direction for sure.
Yeah, Taylor, what do you think? Good move for Vegas?
Yeah, I mean, this is a long-awaited change. I think we could all kind of see this one coming. The primary argument you hear, like Brodie said, advocating for this is for players to get that adequate amount of practice. But again, from the fan point of view, I think tournaments should feature a maximum of 2 courses just for that course memorability. When I think about a lot of the Pro Tour stops, I usually think about 1 or 2 holes that, like Brodie said, I'm just super excited to see how the pros tackle it that year. And when it comes to LVC, outside of 18 on the Innova course, there's really just not a lot of memorable holes to come up with, at least for positive reasons. I think we can all remember the Triple Island hole pretty quickly, but just for the gimmick rather than the aesthetic or any history behind it. So I know Vegas struggles in that aesthetic department, but hopefully can move to 2 good to decent courses instead of the 3 mediocre courses. And from the Pro Tour side, logistically, it'll be a lot easier for them to put spotters, put event staff on 2 courses versus trying to fill up all 3 of those courses at the same time. So I think it's a great change.
Yeah, Matthew, what are you feeling about Vegas?
So I think we're all in agreement here. It's definitely the move to move down to these 2 courses. And from both sides, it makes sense. From a pro's side, you have to do less practice. You can focus in on your practice. You're not having to worry about another 18 holes, kind of like Brodie said. From a person watching side, it's 2 courses. It's all I have to think about. Now, as we move forward, all of the courses, if we were to follow this pattern, must be really, really good, right? So if we don't have a good mix of holes or something like that, and then we walk into a course that's not memorable, one less is going to make it even less. It's kind of frustrating there, but I don't think it's an issue because as we move forward, like we were mentioning, more pros are designing courses. When pros design courses, generally it's a better course. So as we move forward with these, I just don't see a reason that we're ever going to move back to like more courses. I think 2 is, I agree, maximum amount, and I think it makes perfect sense from everyone's side.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much hitting the nail on the head there. I don't think there's many people who argue for that 3rd course. I know there's a lot of people strongly who like the 2-course format within disc golf. It does allow, because there's such a variety of ways disc golf can be played, open versus woods being the most obvious. I think people do enjoy the idea that we can have tournaments that show a mixture of courses, but as soon as you add that 3rd, it seems to just be that tipping point where it's like, all right, this is way too much. So I think I definitely side with that. Everybody seems to be in agreement there. All right, little points update before we hop into our next subject. Right now we have Brodie at 4, Tyler at 3, Taylor at 5, and Matthew at 3. Moving into our next subject. This was something that kind of just snuck under the radar a little bit. The Disc Golf Pro Tour loves to release these little press releases and article that drop like kind of fascinating information sometimes. And everybody, we have another topic about something else they dropped in there later in the show. But one of the main things they said is that GK Pro is dropping FPO coverage this year to focus on their skins matches now. FPO coverage, they had the main FPO coverage, that obviously don't get the same views as MPO. However, there are still a lot of views to be had. That's a big responsibility for a coverage company, and there's notability there. But obviously their skins matches have been popular too. So my questions are, is this a wise move or not? And then I think another big question here is, do you think this was their ideas to drop FPO coverage, or the Pro Tours, or somebody else even? Let's go ahead and start with Tyler. What do you think?
Yeah, my first instinct is I think it's a good move. I think mostly for the FPO, it's a good move because they get to have Jomez covering their lead card. And Jomez, of course, does an incredible job with what they do in post-production. So I'm excited for the FPO to have that higher level quality coverage for them. I'm excited to see who Jomez brings in to commentate and to lead that charge. For GK, I think they'll be okay. I think their skins matches, like you said, are the thing that bring them the most views, the most is growing their audience. I enjoy the skins matches a whole lot. I look forward to watching those after the tournaments every weekend. And I think I also saw that they're going to be inviting fans in to watch these at the elite tournaments. To watch the recordings of these skins matches. So I think that'll be cool for them. I don't know if it's going to be what they need to continue growing. I think it may just kind of stall out a little bit, but we'll see what they do. They've done some crazy things with their skins matches, some good, some not. So time will tell, but I'm more excited for the FPO on this change than I am for GK for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Taylor, what are you thinking? Oh, Taylor, you're muted. You got your mute on.
So sorry.
You're good.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think it's a great move, but in my opinion, this is absolutely being initiated by the Pro Tour. And it's interesting to me that the press release read, we're excited to unify lead card coverage on the Jomez Pro YouTube channel, which has continued to set the bar when it comes to viewership. I read that as the Pro Tour taking some shots at GK Pro viewership, looking for those higher numbers on Jomez and take advantage of the contract they have with them. But additionally, GK Pro does have that great product in the skins matches, which will be baked into that ticketed practice day. And I think it'll be part of the Disc Golf Network in 2024. And what we're seeing is the Disc Golf Network really start to consolidate all pieces of media that they have that can get their hands on under their umbrella. A big key not many people are talking about regarding the change to the European swing is Jeff Springs saying after last year, the Euro Tour made it clear they would find a live streaming option, whether or not it was DGN. So the Pro Tour is just eliminating competition for those views. So in the future, GK Pro skins being a part of DGN could absolutely help bring in a more casual audience to that ecosystem. Whereas right now, I think a typical GK Pro skins viewer is much more likely to watch more casual disc golf content on YouTube, like a Brodie and Ezra practice round, rather than tournament coverage on the Disc Golf Network.
Yeah, really good points there, Taylor. Matthew, what are you thinking about this move?
So I think I agree with everyone here. I took a peek at the views for both GK Pro's like big money skins matches and their FPL coverage, and there wasn't a huge discrepancy between them. So I think as far as they go, when they want to move forward GK Pro, that is, with their big money skins matches, they're a small group of guys, and it's really hard to kind of do both of those things at once. So I think the Pro Tour initiated it because we want, unified coverage, but I think GK Pro probably liked this idea. I think they're doing something really unique with big money skins, and I think as they continue moving forward, they want to put a lot of energy in it. After whole Mesa Productions and stuff, I think they have something to prove, So I would be really excited to see what they do for this year, and especially as now an event that has spectators, they can just go above and beyond without any concern for the FPO side, making sure that's up. All their focus is on their skins matches.
Yeah, certainly do have something to prove after big money skins. Brodie, what do you think about this?
Yeah, this is a great move. We've talked about this. The Pro Tour needs to continue to try to figure out ways to generate this kind of culture or motivation leading into events. A lot of times you just go to event, and during the entire week, you're kind of just waiting for content to come out from maybe some of the pros. But the Pro Tour is not really putting anything out there other than maybe clips from the event from previous years. The way now that the Pro Tour is going about it, I think, is the right way. Instead of them going out, hiring people and trying to create something out of thin air, they already have people that are doing stuff like GK Pro skins that they can just put underneath their umbrella. Now, as far as like the FPO coverage goes, I agree with Tyler. I think this is a great move, not just for GK Pro about dropping the FPO, but FPO now going on Jomez. We've also talked about this as well as the Disc Golf Network is trying to get more of their hands in the post-produced content, not just the live stream as well. And now working with some of these people that do post-produce more, I think that's going to make sense on the viewer side, on the branding side, and then also most importantly, they now can go out and sell a lot more to potential sponsors coming in, having those numbers on both sides.
Yeah, certainly a lot of sellability there. I think I'm not sure who initiated the move. Yeah, I'd like to think potentially the Pro Tour did, but I think there's wins for everybody here, whether it be the FPO division itself, Jomez, GK Pro, being able to focus in on that. It's going to be interesting to see, as the years go on, there's so many of these post-produced companies. Everybody's kind of doing their own thing. You have the Pro Tour trying to capture people under their umbrella. Everybody trying to, some people trying to stay as independent as possible. And as everything starts to slowly shrink in, we'll see what happens. Quick points update for everybody. We got Brodie at 8 points, Tyler at 6, Taylor at 11, and Matthew at 7. As we move into our next subject, and I think this one's a bit controversial. It's very debated, I think, amongst disc golfers, and this comes out of an era where right now you're seeing players get paid exuberant amounts of money in disc golf, and some of them being paid strictly based on their success on the course, but others getting really good contracts and seeming to do a lot with social media. So the question is, should players care more about on-course performance or social media presence in the current climate of the sport? Taylor, what do you got for this one?
Yeah, I mean, obviously in a perfect world, it's both, but you have to excel in one or the other, and the key here is relevance. We know that the next tier of disc golfers outside of the million-a-year contract guys get a huge financial incentive from those Tour Series discs and moving plastic. Amateur disc golfers love nothing more than buying discs that the pros throw in hopes that they can replicate what they're doing, but they have to see those shots being thrown somewhere to be enticed to go buy those discs. Pre-COVID, the best way of doing that was sneaking onto one of those covered cards at any events, but as the sport's grown so much, it's just getting harder and harder to land those spots. And social media is just a great way to circumvent that and reach a fan base without relying on any huge performances. I'm biased as an Infinite guy, but what we've seen from Eric Oakley posting constantly, interacting with fans on Twitch streams and Discords, it's paved a new way to kind of market and sell those discs to your fan base without having monster performances and ending up on league cards. So I think as a newer player, a younger player, someone that's not quite at that elite level, you have to be thinking about building a brand and a solid social media presence even more than pushing yourself on the course.
Okay. Yeah, that's a take that's certainly floating around. Matthew, do you agree?
I absolutely agree. We all know discs are how pros are moving. That's how they show how relevant they are, all those kind of things. If I go out and win a big event, but I have no content about myself, I'm just a blank slate. Why would you buy one of my discs? But if I can watch I think a good example of this is Brodie Smith. If I can watch a Brodie Smith video and see like fun interactivity, how he plays on the course, a lot of his logic, I'm way more inclined to buy a disc. So I think it's actually 90% of what especially small players should be doing is just pushing that social media. Just pushing it, make people know who you are, make people know something about you. We see it before we had social media, things like, fancy shirts on the course or weird outfits got people out. Now we have social media. We don't have to do this in between, and we shouldn't. Focus entirely on putting out content and making people know who you are as a player above your performance.
Yeah. Brodie, as the only pro player here, what's your take on this?
I mean, I would say I kind of disagree, actually. The way that the sport is going right now, there's going to be a certain point in time where if you're not good enough, you're not even going to be able to play on tour. So if you're focusing on social media, you might need to remove that pro disc golfer from your Twitter handle or from your Twitter profile and put social influencer disc golfer or whatever, because that is the way the tour is headed. There's going to be a time and place where only the top 80, top 90 guys in the world have tour cards and can even play on tour. So if you're focusing all your time on social media and not actually getting better at the sport itself, you might not even find yourself on tour. I think that's key. I think the other thing is some people are just not good on social media. I think pushing a narrative or trying to get out there and put yourself in front of people is a good idea. But I think, copying and pasting what other people are doing because you see them getting contracts that you want to do is not a good thing. I think it's an individual thing for each person. You need to sit down and see what you're good at, what you like to do. Because at the end of the day, if you're going out there and trying to be someone that you actually aren't, I don't think that's necessarily a good thing for yourself. And also, I just don't think it's a good thing for the fans either.
All right, so we've seen a few different takes on this. Tyler, where do you sit on this one?
Yeah, I'm kind of in the middle on this. I mean, who are we to tell these guys what to care about, for one thing? I think different people have different motivations. We have different goals, different things we want to accomplish. You see some guys that they're determined to be the best, and they approach it that way. You see others who, again, they're more trying to build their fan base. One thing I know is these guys, as far as the money they make just based off of winning, is basically nothing. It's honestly laughable. And so you need some things on the side to help supplement that income so they can keep going. And like was mentioned earlier, some of these contracts and the support we see for these guys comes from social media presence. But to Brodie's point, not everybody's good. Not everybody's good on social media. Not everybody knows how to get views. Not everybody knows how to build a YouTube channel like Brodie does. And so I think these guys need some help if social media is a part of what they're supposed to do. But I see it the same way Brodie does, in the sense that the field is getting so big that I do see a time when we kind of separate even more the high level players from the rest that are on the pro tour but are not quite as good. So I do think if you want to be elite, if you really want to be at the top week in and week out, you're going to have to focus on some things, and the social media will have to become kind of a secondary thing. So we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. Can I add something without getting points for it? Because I think it's actually something that's important to talk about.
I was gonna put you into a duel. Does that float your boat?
That's perfect. Sorry.
Okay, perfect then. No, I'm gonna go ahead and put you and Taylor into a duel, because I think you guys sat on both sides of the argument there, and I'd like to hear a little bit more on this, because there are two definite sides to this, and there are good points on both. So we'll have Taylor go first. You can lead off and have an additional minute to fight for your point.
Sure. Yeah. And I think a key distinction is Brodie's probably absolutely correct in 10 years, but I just don't think the climate aligns with that sentiment currently. I mean, as far as like the Twitter bio thing, anybody that pays the extra money to be an MPO probably puts their professional disc golfer in their Twitter bio, right? And especially like people that may not be as excel in social media, you can almost build a brand off that. I mean, look at what Calvin's done. He posts like once a month, but everybody freaks out. It's like a new Calvin post dropped. It's like his brand is not being great on the media side. I think you're right too, that we will reach a point where if you're going to be on the pro tour, one of those top guys, sure, you'll have to put in a little bit more work, but right now we don't have that many guys that are even on the pro tour full time, and you could absolutely still make a financial killing being a Silver Series guy that has 200,000 followers on Instagram and selling disc constantly. But at the end of the day, it is a great point. It's what you excel at and what you want to put your focus into. Financially speaking, right now I think in disc golf, social media will make you more money.
Brodie?
I was going to say too, the other thing to think about is I think companies are going like this, the companies that are sponsoring these players, they're going to eventually have to have more of the burden on promoting the players versus the players. So we all talked about the Tour Series disc and how players make a lot of money off of disc. I think the burden should be mostly on those companies that go out and sponsor a player to use that player, film them, do commercials and all that stuff, and not as much on the player themselves. If the player has a big social media, can do it themselves, I think that's a bonus. I think you maybe pay them extra for that. But I think that's not something that should be put on the player. If you look at other sports, there are some players that are just, or athletes that are just not good on social media, don't want to be on social media, but their teams that they're on, their sponsors that they have, they push them hard and they can still be a big fan favorite.
Okay. So I don't really think that was a counter to Taylor's argument necessarily, but
no, that was just, I didn't, that's what I was saying. I wanted to
right.
add an extra thing because
Okay.
that's one thing I forgot to say. You can take points away. I don't care. I just want to add that point.
I would never. I'm going to give Taylor a point, though. I am going to give Taylor a point because it was a good addition to the conversation. I think you guys everybody's kind of on the right track. I think that the it all depends on when. It's like almost a gamble as the player of when is my talent going to need to be good enough to make sure I stay on the tour, because I do agree that being on the tour is going to make a pretty big difference, but it's also, like Taylor mentioned, tough to say when that switch is going to happen and what players are on that fringe. It's like they need to be the ones worried about that switch happening. So I think, yeah, it's like, will it be 3 years? Will it be 5 years, 10 years? Who knows? But I think it's kind of just like betting on yourself to see, like, am I good enough to be focusing this much on social versus this much on other things? But yeah, it's tough to say. Definitely tough to say. Something that we're gonna have to follow. All right, little points update before we head into our last subject before the rapid fire round. We have Brodie at 12, Tyler at 9, Taylor at 16 in a commanding lead right now, and Matthew at 10. Heading into our final subject, this is another thing. Someone mentioned this earlier, but this is something that was snuck in by the Pro Tour. In one of their press releases, they have announced that they will be selling tickets to the public to spectate the final day of practice rounds at tour stops this season. This is something that is not a stranger to professional golf. Disc golf clearly kind of continuing to try and implement certain things like that. So my question is very simply, good idea or bad idea? Matthew, go ahead and lead off for us.
So I think this idea, we have to separate the idea from what they're trying to do. Okay. The idea is let's pay for the last day, practice day. What we're trying to do is make tournaments more than go watch the coverage and then leave. We're trying to make this a big event, a multiple day thing. Go early, see the skins matches in some cases, see a practice round, move about that. But because it's like you said, Pro Tour snuck this in, we have no idea. The potential upside is get more people out. The huge potential downside is now we have to worry about a lot of things we did not previously have to worry about. I think the idea is good as far as let's get more people out on the course the entire weekend. All of a sudden, a 3-hour drive to go, watch coverage for a weekend feels way more enticing when there's a bunch of other events around it. But this way of doing the idea, I'm not sure if I'm 100% on. I think there's so little info on it that we need to wait it out. But I would be really, really hesitant on this idea at the moment.
Okay. All right, Brodie, what do you think about it?
I mean, it's a no-brainer. You already have the tournament essentially set up the day before, because that's when all the pros are going out there, and now they're even setting up the tournament sometimes 2 or 3 days before. You charge $5, $10, whatever it may be. Spectators can just roam freely, watch whoever they want. It's more of a engaging experience for the spectator and the pros. I think that's something that is really missing. Something that the Pro Tour just implemented not that long ago was this like autograph signing thing. The first year I was on tour, the autograph situation was really weird. People were asking autographs right before your round, during your round. Now everyone knows after the round there's a spot to get autographs. I think this is going to add to that player fan experience, which is, I think, very, very important, and especially in niche sports like disc golf, of where fans can come out and watch your round, talk to you during your round. And it's not a weird thing where that's kind of, that's not really what you should be doing during the actual tournament rounds. So I think it's a good thing. I don't think it adds that much as far as like infrastructure for them. And if it brings them a few extra dollars, great. But mostly I think this is just going to add to the fan experience leading into the actual tournament itself.
Yeah. Tyler, practice rounds, good or a bad idea?
I think it's a good idea. I really do. For me, I think it depends on who you are. I don't think that everybody's going to be enticed to come out a day early and watch a practice round. But I think for me, I think about my kids. So I have a daughter who's almost 6, and she likes watching disc golf with me. And so as she grows and she has some players she's a fan of, if I can take her out there a day early, and I know she can get up close with some of the ladies that she likes to watch, that's going to be a huge thing for her. And to Brodie's point, that was something that before was really difficult to do. You got to wait in line for who knows how long to get an autograph for one of these guys after their round when they're exhausted. And so the idea of getting to talk to them while they're walking down the fairway is super enticing. I hope it doesn't have a negative impact on our players. I know that sometimes getting there and getting enough practice in can be difficult depending on the schedule and how far they have to travel. So I hope it doesn't create an issue there. But overall, I think it's a good move, and I hope it's a win.
Yeah, certainly. Taylor, finish it up for us.
Yeah, I think we all agree that it's a great idea, and it definitely facilitates kind of more fan-player interaction in a more casual environment, and obviously it has the positive financial impact for the Pro Tour as well, selling those tickets. From the Pro Tour's perspective, I just worry it's a little too soon. The vast majority of volunteers we have for crowd control and spotting work are just that. They're volunteers, and we even have cases of those volunteers paying for that opportunity. So tournaments are going to find it harder to find volunteers available for weekday practice rounds, and crowd control is already an issue at some tournaments, and we know disc golf spectators have trouble keeping themselves and their belongings out of play, even on tournament deciding shots. So I love the idea, but my concern is we don't quite have the infrastructure yet, and that we could see some professional player pushback if spectator behavior or positioning starts to become an issue for them when they're trying to get their practice in.
Yeah, I do think it'll be interesting. I think that it's a no-brainer in the sense that, yeah, like, hey, why not charge people to come out and watch the last day of practice? That's the course is set up for the tour. It should be, exclusive to the players at that point. So, that makes sense. It will just be a matter of how well do they even try and regulate it? What are they even going to do in the first place? Are they going to set up fences? Are they going to have a full staff of volunteers doing crowd control? Or are they just going to let people roam the property? And is that going to become crazy? You got people like walking across fairways, like who knows? So I see both sides of this. I see yeah, of course, why not? Like this is a good idea. And then I see, am I going to see a Reddit post of like a guy getting hit by Ricky's forehand because he was just lined up in the wrong spot? Or are players going to get harassed? Like it's it'll be interesting to see how everything pans out there. But I think that it is a good idea. It'll just depend on the execution, as pretty much everything with the Disc Golf Pro Tour is these days. But one final points update, and then we're going to move on to our rapid fire round. We have Brodie at 15, Tyler at 12, Taylor at 18, and Matthew at 13, which means that Taylor and Brodie are heading into the rapid fire round. So let's move into it. All right, Brodie, Taylor, today's contestants in the rapid fire round. Brodie, is this your first rapid fire round? I think it is.
Yes.
All right. So Taylor right now has a 3-point lead. Definitely not insurmountable by any means. We have, if you're new to the show, we have 3 topics, 30 seconds each, hence rapid fire. We're doing something similar to last episode because I just like the way it worked out. We're doing buy, sell, and hold. Buy, sell, or hold, I should say. And you're basically, I'm going to present 3 entities in disc golf, and you're going to be arguing whether or not, if this was a stock, would you buy, sell, or hold it? So we're going to start out with our leader, Taylor, and we're going to say buy, sell, or hold stock in post-produced coverage. Kind of a whammy. Go for it.
Yeah, I'm selling. I'm running. I'm trying to get out as fast as I can. I think the writing's on the wall, as I mentioned earlier, that the Pro Tour is trying to consolidate as much as they can under their umbrella. And I think the future of Jomez is pretty questionable after this 2-year deal they had with the Pro Tour ends this season. We've already seen them branch out on the content they're making with the putting game, the more documentary style content. I just don't think we're far at all from a world where post-produce lives on the Disc Golf Network, and it's going to fade in relevance as soon as that happens.
Interesting. Brodie, what do you think?
I think I'm holding on this. I think obviously I'm a big live guy. That's been noted multiple times. But I think with the Jomez picking up the FPO. I think that shows you that the Disc Golf Pro Tour maybe wants to consolidate the post-produce in the sense of having the top lead cards or feature cards or what have you all on the same channel. I think that's going to be easier for people to watch FPO and then watch MPO or vice versa. But I'm also just, I think towards, we'll see how it goes. I'll be shocked if they continue to let like next day coverage go out. That would be the big thing is, will they get to a point of where the whole tournament has to happen and then the post-produce comes out? That will be the big decider of whether or not post-produce is going up or going down.
Yeah. It's a tricky one. You do see that consolidation model, but you also know that those companies, like especially the likes of Jomez are big, and there are huge entities in the sport. So it'll be interesting to see how long that process goes. All right, we got some players now. Brodie, you can start us off. Buy, sell, or hold stock in Eagle McMahon.
I'm buying. I don't believe in this theory of the forehand Instagram gate or whatever we want to call it, of like he can't throw a forehand. I think it's also been proven that European Open, very, very important to have a good forehand on that course. There was multiple holes where forehand or lefty backhand was actually the better throw. He showed that he was able to do it still with a backhand. Obviously, hole 2, he was throwing a lefty backhand on that, and that worked out pretty well for him. He's still a very serviceable player, regardless of whether or not he has a forehand or a backhand. So there is no concern. The only concern is, does he stay healthy? Like,
right.
That's the only concern. But I'm buying. I just don't think he's going to push it, and I think that's the smart play for him. There's no reason for him to push it.
Taylor, are you getting some of that stock?
I'm holding, but I think we have a lot of the same reasons. And I do think I'm mainly holding because Eagles stock, in my opinion, would probably be pretty high right now, just because when he did play last year, he played insane. He played out of his mind. But there's just so many unknowns for me where he's saying he's good to go. He's coming to the season strong, but there's just no guarantee he doesn't tweak something mid-season. We don't see him again until 2024, which is absolutely the right call for him. But it's too questionable. On the flip side, he is capable of being the best player in the world without his forehand and mixing in that lefty backhand. So I'm not selling quite yet, but buying Eagle right now, I feel like it's just kind of like buying crypto. Like, sure, it could go to the moon. He could win every major, but he also could just not play for until 2024. So it's risky.
Yeah, I'd agree. I would say that as far as we all know, there was no surgery. There's a lot of unknowns about what the injury really was, how well it's rehabbed. They had the forehand video, like Brodie mentioned, was like out there and everybody was like, what was that? But yeah, so I think you guys are both right. If he does stay healthy to the extent that he is, regardless of the forehand, he's still going to be an effective player. But yeah, is there going to be the injury? I mean, it's like having that running back in fantasy football where you're just waiting for that knee to go out, and that it might just not work out for the whole season. Hopefully he stays healthy though, because he's certainly exciting to have on tour. All right, so our final buy, sell, or hold. This is another player that I think this might be one of the most complex players in the buy, sell, or hold, because it's a player that has been expected to break out for a long time, has flashes of brilliance. There's a lot of unknowns. So we'll start with you, Taylor. Buy, sell, or hold stock in Haley King.
Yeah, I'm buying. I'm cautiously buying. It's a light buy.
Okay.
She's had a year with the new bag. Obviously, the talent is there. The biggest question is pretty much on the mental game for the most part, but she's 2021. I think there's a lot of time for that to develop. She slipped from 4th at the start of 2022 to 9th in UDIS power ranking, so I think that prices are probably a little lower here. And in any case, she's shown she's good for one big win a year, so that could be the time to sell pretty high after you've bought low here.
Yeah, certainly a play there. Brodie, what do you think?
I just want to say this questioning too. What is their stock value? Like, we need to know what their stock value is to even be able to know what to buy, sell, or hold. Being said, well, I'm just saying my value of Haley King might be completely different than your value.
It's relative to the rest of the field, though. So, like Taylor said, ninth in the world in UDIS rankings. I mean, what her social following is like. It's relative.
All right, fair enough. My point with Haley King is she might win 2 majors next year. She also might not tour next year. Like, there literally, you have no idea. So if you want to like go out on a flyer and throw $5 at it and maybe it hits big, awesome. If you don't, you might not lose anything because they might not even be playing it. She is, you know what she is? She's like that. She's that person that comes into the league and you're like, holy cow, this person's going to take over, or we're never going to see from them again. And it would be disheartening, or it would be sad to see her not reach the potential that she has. But at the same time, like there's just been signs of her just not really wanting it, like being interested in touring as much as we all thought she would. So we'll see. I think if she gets a win early, watch out. I think that would be the thing. If she gets a win early, I'm not answering the question because I already lost. But if she gets a win early, watch out, because I think that will continue what Hunter loves to say, the momentum of her season onto other tournaments down the road.
Yeah, I think it's she's more of a bet than a stock play at this point. She's like the day trade, I guess, because it's like you're right.
Yes.
We've seldom seen the amount of athleticism in the MPO field that she has. Like she has a lot of talent, athleticism, upside. But like even her touring schedule this year, not as big of a schedule as like I would have expected. There's that question of like, how much does she want to do this? Yeah, it's very tough to say. I think probably one of the most unknown players in disc golf as far as what's going to happen.
She's like that friend where is just so much more talented than you, and you want it so bad, but they don't really care that much. And you're just like, I just wish you could just inject your talent into my veins, because I would do so much with it. Because I agree, like her backhand and forehand, her putting, as far as like talent goes, is, top 3, top 5 in all categories. So yeah, we'll see what happens though.
Certainly. All right. Final score update. Taylor taking the win 25-23 over Brodie. First time victory for Taylor, correct?
Yep.
Anything to say for your victory lap?
Yeah, I mean, I'll say Hunter, he got me by 1 point last time. I was in the field the day before ripping some shots 350 and just kind of tweaked my shoulder a little bit. No, we've seen that calling people out on the show does not go well, so I'll avoid that. No, really appreciate the opportunity. Always just a blast as always. Really, really enjoyed it.
All right. Well, everybody watching, thanks again for tuning into the show today. We had some great new guests today, and we'll certainly be having them back. We like to keep this show rotating, so you're going to see new faces all the time. If you want to be one of the new faces potentially, make sure to reach out to us via social, email, whatever platform you'd like, and we'd love to have you submit an audition to maybe be an analyst on the show someday. Other than that, we will see you next week with another
Shout out
great
to
episode.
the new guys. Shout out to the new guys. Thanks for not reading off a script. Appreciate it.
And well, anyways, we'll see you next week for another great episode.